Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Hello, Mthunzi. Today is election day, no doubt, and I never make political videos. This is, in fact, not necessarily a political video. There's just something that I've thought of and I've always wanted to say, but I've not really ever been able to put it together fine. So I found something on the news today, which gives me a nice way to explain what I was going to say. This is from ENCA on the 28th of September. You are probably seeing this on election day. So, what do I again? Let's do this, guys.
So will Eskom keep the lights on after the votes tomorrow? Are we being unnecessarily sceptical? Mthunzi Lutuli's an energy expert. He joins us now. Mthunzi, thanks for coming in. We're a cynical country. It's a cynical time. Are we going to have load shedding on Thursday morning?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon, Vuyo.
Hey guys, listen. Quick apology over here. I was streaming straight from Chrome into the program while I was recording. So you're going to see a little bit of dithering. It's a new computer and I thought it had enough power. 25,000 Rand on a machine and it does this. Wait, live. But apologies for that. Next time, we'll do it better.
Look, it's, in fact, first, let me just say it's sad that we're skeptical when, when there's no load shedding. In fact, the opposite should be true. I think that should just highlight how serious the problem is. Now, to answer your question, load shedding will definitely return. And there are two reasons I say that. Firstly, you'll remember that Eskom a few weeks ago had a press conference. And they already in that conference, they warned us that in fact load shedding might return. They didn't say after the elections, they said in winter. Obviously, that's after the elections, okay?
Let's just pause right there. The person got asked whether there'll be load shedding on Thursday. Besides the fact that he's just skirting the issue a little bit. Yes, if there is load shedding in winter and that happens after the elections, that is absolutely no indication of some crazy scheme going on in the background. One.
Now, the problem with that is that we've always known that there's a winter in every year. So why didn't they prepare for the winter? Okay, so that's the
Second thing, they didn't say will, they said might. So what's happening now is this guy's listening to somebody and he's changing the words from we might to we will. Just pay attention to the way people speak.
first point. So we know, for that reason, we know that load shedding will return. But the second reason, which is the more serious reason, is that this load shedding problem in South Africa is not a technical problem. It's definitely not a technical problem.
What is a grad wizard?
Coal-fired power generation is a 19th century technology. It's a mature technology.
True.
Engineers know how it works. If something breaks, we know how to fix it. So the problem is not technical. The problem is political, primarily, and to a smaller degree, it's managerial. Okay. The reason it's political is the following. The private sector wants to get into the power generation sector to make money. It's a big sector. There's a lot of money to be made, okay? But in order to justify the entry of the private sector, Eskom must be shown to be unable to provide electricity for the country. That is really the problem. Minister Ramaphosa spoke about a UCLF of 15,000 megawatts. That's the unplanned capacity loss, basically breakdowns.
Am I getting this right here? Private companies want to get into power generation. So it's no longer the government. Okay. But at least he's thinking this stuff through, so I appreciate it.
total breakdowns at Eskom that amount to 15,000 megawatts. That's close to 3 power stations.
Okay.
Those are units that are lying there,
Sure.
not being repaired and not being brought back online. The question is, why were they not being repaired and brought back online? That 15,000 megawatts has been a permanent feature. It's been there almost permanently, so to speak, for the last 2 to 3 years.
Can I ask you to answer that very same question you are posing, Mthunzi? Because, I mean, the chairperson of the board of Eskom would have us to believe that all they have done is apply sensible management principles, as you call it. All they have done is to incentivize staff, Eskom staff. They have also made sure that, as he calls it, they have productive engagements with the shareholder. The question is,
Shareholder B?
I'm saying, can you please answer your question? Because if it's as simple as all that, then the question is, what was that not done long before, now?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, those things that you mentioned, that's normal management practice. It's good management practice. And it's not rocket science. It's stuff that should have been done a long time ago when the problem emerged.
Why was it not done?
Why was it not done? If
When exactly did the problem emerge?
that was the problem, okay? So, so I don't buy what the chairperson of Eskom says. That is not the problem, in fact, you see. The problem, as I say, is that UCLF, the unplanned capacity loss factor, the units that are broken down that are not being fixed. And the reason is, why are they not being fixed? You see, it's like, very quickly, it's like, let's say, a board put you in charge, or a shareholder put you in charge of a bus company, say, okay? And I'm making this example to make it easier for our viewers. And let's say you have 100 buses. Buses break down.
Sure.
You don't fix them, and the problems are not major. Maybe it's a gearbox there, it's something else that is minor that can be fixed. You don't fix it. Instead of fixing it, you go and get your friends to hire in buses, and you pay them for providing the bus service at costs that are much higher than what you would provide internally.
Just to say, Mthunzi, because one interpretation of what you're saying is that this has all been deliberate sabotage at Eskom.
Yes.
That's what you mean?
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I kind of believe and agree with Mthunzi. I don't mean to throw shade on Mthunzi, but I think who he is pointing out at is a bit flawed over here. Yeah, there must be a saboteur is the word that you're looking for. Who is the one who's sabotaging, right? And you must be able to pinpoint that out, for example. I'll give you an example of who it is in a second.
But if that's the case, there are a couple of other things that then need to be brought into the conversation, which is that around the world you won't really find people relying on just one generator. In fact, the president has said several times that we can't just have one generator of electricity. The second thing would be that one of the real reasons we had load shedding for so long was that Kusile and Medupi were designed badly. So, and former President Mbeki has been saying this recently as well, that, you had the design problems there. Now, that might be to do with the Hitachi deal, might be to do with other things. But to say that this is all deliberate to bring in the private sector, you would need to show real evidence and real intent when you say that.
Okay. I am going to show real evidence and real intent. The party who I'm going to show now is not what you expect, first of all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this company's share price. Let's say from in the 90s to when load shedding first started. The easiest way for me to explain this is just to show you someone's share price and correlate that with load shedding. Let's go then. I'm going to minimize this page over here. Let's just go over here. Now, I want you all to take a look at this page over here. Right. And we are going to go, let's see here. We've got 2008 over here. Okay. And I'm going to go back to 1996. Another piece of information you might want to look at is something like this. So I want to pop a picture of this. Okay. Load shedding in South Africa started in 2007. We didn't have the stages back then, but these were the, well, however you want to work out this equation over here. I'm just going to look at the years when we had load shedding. 2007 and 2008 is the first time we have load shedding. Now we take a look at our great old company over here. Okay, let's go back 4 years from 2008, and we're going to have a look at the share price there. 10,600, let's say 10,700. By the time load shedding has happened, 2007, 2008, look at this. The share price is 47,500. So from 10,700 to 47,800. The ability for this company, somehow they were able to gather information just beforehand, because I obviously see their share price going up quite drastically over there. Now, let's see here. We're going to go from 2008. And guys, look, I mean, that's more than 100%, whatever you want to call that rise in share price. Let's just go back here for a second. Sorry, guys. Okay. 2009, 10, 11, 12, and 13, no load shedding. Okay. You see, after that, when there's no load shedding, look at this. The share price comes down. Now, it hasn't gone back to its normal lows just ever since load shedding happened. All right. If you said 2009, look, there's the dip. And it was up until what year? It was, I'm going to close these others here. Up until 2013. Okay, let's be serious about that. 2009 to 2013. 2009, down. You see a little bit of ups and downs here. 2011, 2012, 2013. You'll start seeing the spike. Now look at this go up in 2013. That's October 2013. Okay. Now, once we start getting to 2014, this is the same year where we have quite a lot of load shedding again. And you look at the same company's share price. Now look at the peak of the load shedding. It was 62,000. Peak of load shedding in 2008, 47,000, 62,000. Coincidence? I don't know, but you make up your own mind. Yes, the company is Sasol, obviously, over here. Now, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. We're going to go from 2014. Watch again what happens here. 2014, 2015, right? That's where we were a second ago. 2015. And let's see here. Now, 2016 and 2017, there was no load shedding. We forget that this was the case, but let's see here. You see, it's off those highs, 2016 up to 2017. It's a lull again in the share price. What happens in 2018? Let's me and you take a look. Load shedding starts and it piles in on 2019. So let's see what this share price is doing. Sasol. Let's see, 2018 and 2019. 2018, right one. And this here now is August 2018. Now, there's going to be some parallel factors that happen over here. But watch, as soon as the pandemic hit, look what happened to that share price. Just look, it went back down to the same price it was 20 years ago, you see that? 5,000, when do we like? So look, in the pandemic, it went down to a record low, 2,600, okay? And that was in March. That's as soon as, look at the date. I mean, I think that was the day when the lockdown was introduced over there. But before then, we just had a steady decline as well. I'm not quite sure when did they start accompanying the loads of coal to go to the actual power plants. But in and around, there was a time when we actually found out that the coal was bad. Trying to make a look here, and I'm thinking 2019, because we had 2019 with a huge spike in load shedding, but the share price had come down there. So there's a bit of a correlation over there. That's my take on who is responsible for some of this stuff, but I don't know Mthunzi a re gape.
Yeah, the evidence is there, Stephen. Like
How
I
so?
say,
Who did it?
no, like I say, if you have units that are broken down, why is it that you don't fix them?
But they are being fixed, but different ones break down. Isn't that what's been happening? Is that
No.
you've got different things breaking down at different times?
No. And that's why this UCLF is not properly explained.
Sure, but it's been coming down dramatically in the last few months.
Yeah, because we're moving close to elections. That is something that
You see, now the thing is, this man's argument is based a lot on questions and assumptions, and he hasn't actually said anything factual.
should have been done a long time ago. If you look at those units,
I mean, entle ke sentle ke mang out here? Ankile spana ko Eskom o kopa ke motho di conspiracy theory because nka hudwa man, but you know, you make sense one chaza cause one nagana, but sentle you're shooting in the dark. I mean, look, as I said, no shade Mthunzi, but you get the just walk man, you must make sense, papa.
it's that form part of this 15,000 megawatts of UCLF. Those units, many of them, you find that they've been lying there for months. In fact, some of them for years, not being fixed and brought back online. And the question is why? That is the issue.
So you see, you got another question. You're not giving us a fact. You're asking and posing great questions, which is not the solution. It's just questions, and I appreciate the questions. But if you don't know the answer to your own question, then you know what? Akizu atlambo.
You know what's interesting for me is that you saying what you just said.
Yeah.
And I put to you what I put to you earlier about some of the things that the chairperson of the board of Eskom says they have done, right, to try and fix the problem and not going into the issues you are raising. You then have a director, the former CEO of Eskom, saying, all I've done is like burn diesel. You deprived me of something. You gave me 6 billion rands, and you now have but Eskom now has a budget of 24 billion rands, right, to try and keep the lights on. Now, it looks like it depends on who you ask. And I'm told that there is no unanimity as to what the problems are, how to deal with them, who did what wrong, and why. And this is the big done, which is why I think South Africans are.
This guy is making an excellent point. Have you ever heard of Kaiser Soze? Have you ever seen The Usual Suspects? Sometimes you've got to ask yourself a very simple, okay, it's not a simple question, but who always knows how to stay out of jail? A person with a lot of money. How about money will keep you out of jail? And we live in a country where a president was arrested last year for some frivolous nonsense, right? We've had load shedding for many, many years over here, and not a single person. Listen, the only people that have been arrested was what? Mhlambe, some truck driver, guy. Truck drivers are now responsible for load shedding. So the thing is, somebody with enough power to be able to get away with this. They used to say in The Usual Suspects, one of the greatest things about Kaiser Soze is that he'd never hire the same person twice. So you'll do a job for Kaiser Soze not knowing it's Kaiser Soze. Now, I showed you the share price over there. If there was no actual physical money exchanging hands, you can see that somebody had to have profited from this load shedding. It's maniacal to think that a political party will benefit or profit from load shedding. There's not a government in this world that would ever profit from nonsense like this. You need to look at it as to who can actually benefit. And billions of rands go missing. We don't know where the fuck they went. But if you hide something in plain sight, like the share price of Sasol, it'll show you. Why am I picking on Sasol? Listen here, Papa. Sasol uses coal to turn it into petrol. When all those diesel generators are busy being pumped up, we might look at a map later on of just seeing where all the power stations are. But my understanding is from Sasolburg up north, all of that petrol over there is supplied by Sasol. So when those generators need diesel, where the hell do you think this diesel is coming from? It's coming from Sasol. And Oskalebal, that thing about the coal, they make petrol with coal. So the two largest coal the two largest coal consumers in this country are Sasol and Eskom. And their networks are pretty competitive. Listen, don't underestimate Sasol. Take Shell, okay, take all the other fuel companies in this country, put their bank accounts together. Sasol has 10 times more money than that bank account, if there was one. So they are not to be fucked with. Also, whenever there's a rugby game, there's a cricket game, you notice that there's no load shedding. But have Bafana play or something that Abotaki care about. Load shedding. Who is the Kaiser Soze in this country? Stellenbosch Mafia style. Because at least in evidence, there's a bit of something that, and if I'm wrong, this is just an opinion, like our TA, Mr. Mthunzi, that I'm busy giving shade over here. It's an opinion, but at least in like these stats, get it. This is why I think it's who I think it is. Carry on.
Understandable when they're cynical about whether this, we've seen, or we will see the end, of load shedding anytime soon, which is what the new guys claim will happen.
Yeah.
Let's disturb him one more time. It's important to understand this in our country, guys. There's a Minister of Education, there's Ministers of Health, of Foreign Affairs. There was never a Minister of Electricity. A Minister of Electricity comes into effect, but February last year. February this year, load shedding. Listen, essentially for most of this year, Rona, we haven't been having load shedding. Let's actually be honest about it. Like it's been pretty sporadic this year. Why would the fact that there's an electricity minister not make a difference? Listen, I might not be an ANC voter. I might not be a DA voter. I might not be. It's irrelevant who I vote for. But you must be able to give credit where credit is due sometimes. What happened with that electricity minister was kind of bringing a principle to this electricity thing in South Africa, because Eskom were doing their own thing. Once you fakile a principle that could actually hold everybody into line, everybody fell in line. It took a year. So I don't believe that load shedding will be back next year or on Thursday. If there is, there is. But this year so far, look here, man. Look here. Let's go. Look at it. 2009 to 2013, nothing. We haven't come up to this year. I don't know whether, look, there's more up-to-date ones over here. I'll show you that just now. But we could be going into a period of a couple of years without load shedding. You are all forgetting 2009 to 2013 nix, 2016, 2017 nix. When times get bad, forget that these things have been kind of solved at some points and then they kept coming back. Just keep that in mind. I must let this guy talk, guys.
Let me give you an example, and it partly answers the question that you, Stephen, asked earlier. In the middle of load shedding, when we were getting stages 3, 4, and 5, the government went on and shut down Komati.
Yeah.
Komati Power Station, which was generating at the time around 1,000 megawatts. Okay, they shut it down and they installed a solar power generation facility there that generates, I think it's something in the region of 200 megawatts. Now, where's the sense in that?
Yes, but Komati was about 50 or 60 years old.
No, but
it was long past its design life, and only one unit of the 4 units were working.
No. There were more than there was more than one unit working, because it was at the time it was generating 1,000 megawatts, 1,000. In the middle of load shedding, it makes absolutely no sense to shut it down. Okay, and your justification is that you're going to bring in renewables. What about the country that has no electricity? This is why I say all of these things do not make sense from a purely a rational perspective and from a technical perspective. Komati now is a town that is a ghost town. People are unemployed, they've lost their jobs, they can't send their children to school, they struggle to put food on the table. For what?
Make your point.
To bring in 200 megawatts of solar panels. This is what
I'm not gonna lie. My man poses good questions. Good questions doesn't mean you know what the hell is going on, Papa. Juana Nung, for now, you haven't said a damn thing.
I say this load shedding problem is really not a technical problem. It isn't. It's a political / managerial problem.
Why do you say like political? You say who?
All right, you know what? I think I'm gonna end it right there. I like my man though, you know. There's something to be said for baby Tangtwen. Have you ever heard of a disease called shoritis? Do you know shoritis? When you are very, very sure of the things that you are saying and you believe them things to all be true, you then end up having what we know as shoritis. And my man Mthunzi was shoritis. Look, I have my wild speculations and theories, so does he, so do all of we, but we cannot tell the future, first of all. So whether or not Mutlakase goes off on Thursday, I doubt it. It's going to be pretty hot. And here's one last thing I need to kick you with. A lot of the time they tell us that the peak, I'm getting maybe some peak times for electricity consumption is in the morning and in the evening, right? And that's normally when we have to kick in the power, the extra generation, that thingy that he spoke about. Every time we come to December, we don't have load shedding. This is the one time of the year when the hugest amount of people are at home. They are cooking a lot. They've got lots of people over. So for now, it kind of makes no sense to say that peak times are when people get home. Then when people are home for a whole week, December, you're allowed to keep load shedding on. You see why I made that example about if there's a rugby game over here, you won't find load shedding. So when it's something we all enjoy, you're not going to find load shedding because the people who are behind the curtains know when to instill the problem that they've created. I mean, you cannot tell us 2 weeks in advance or there won't be load shedding and then still expect us to believe you have a problem. Mthunzi, I agree with you there. I don't know if I want to call this a political or technical problem, but it's not a technical problem. I don't know where it is, but all I can say is I feel like, yeah, it's a Kaiser Soze kind of thing where we need to actually find out who did it. I mean, Shebambatum, you cannot have a bunch of coal getting put onto trains or onto ships, getting exported, but we don't know who it's getting exported to. We don't know who sold it. I mean, there's a whole lot of things here that you have to think. Who is powerful enough to be able to pull something like that off? Hence, my speculation is around Boma Sasso. All right. Next.